All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sydney, Maggie, Alex, June, Miranda, Minnie, Patrick, and Jasmine. So for this afternoon, we have again two teams who will be debating on a topic. So we have Team Mass, MAS, and we have Team 11. So for Team Mass, they will be on the affirmative side, and for Team 11, they will be on the negative side. So we have two speakers for each team. So for Team Mass, we have Miranda and Sydney, and for Team 11, we have Maggie and Alex. So today's motion is resolve that corporal punishment should be allowed in the school. Again, our motion for this afternoon is resolve that corporal punishment should be allowed in the school. All right. So let me call the first speaker from the affirmative team. Who will be the first speaker from the affirmative team?
I think me. Yeah.
All right. So Sydney will be the first speaker from the affirmative team. Sydney, you have 4 minutes to speak, and the floor is yours. Your timer starts now.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, Mr. Adjudicator, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sydney from Manila Shama International School, and I'm the first speaker from the affirmative team. And we, as today's proposition, believes that corporal punishment should be allowed in school. So the purpose of corporal punishment is to educate first and followed by punishment. And it is necessary for students to have proper corporal punishment on the principles of respecting personality. And since adults' mistakes should be punished by public opinion and criminal law, so why can't students' mistake be punished? And that corporal punishment is there for them to know the consequences of their mistakes. And at the very least, corporal punishment should help maintain order in the classroom, and immaturity makes it inevitable that students will misbehave at times. And since most children dislike school and they may enjoy learning but would rather not deal with the structure of the classroom. And Mr. Adjudicator, we believe that discipline is necessary to keep children accountable and to ensure that few who refuse to follow direction do not unfairly hamper the chances of others learning for others to learn those skills, and therefore appropriate corporal punishment is conducive to the growth of students. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the first speaker from the affirmative team. You have 1 minute to prepare before I call the first speaker from the negative team.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
Who's the first speaker?
Who will be? So Alex will be the first speaker since Attila is not here. So it will be Alex, and then you will be the set. So we only have two speakers per team.
Okay.
Yes. And time's up. All right, so let's move on to the speech of the first speaker from the negative team. Alex?
Ah,
All
okay.
right, Alex, you have 4 minutes to speak and your time starts now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Adjudicator, guest. I'm Alex from Malala Shaman International School, and I'm the first speaker from the negative team. The topic for the motion for today is that corporal punishment should be allowed in school. Well, the first speaker from the affirmative side has failed to define what is corporal punishment. It is an intentional infliction of physical pain as a method of changing behavior. It includes methods such as hitting, slapping, punching, kicking, pinching, shaking, and use of various objects such as pendles, belts, sticks, or others, or painful body postures. However, we, the negative team, believes that this statement is false. The first speaker from the affirmative side has tried to tell you that corporal punishment helps the students to behave well and to ensure the student follows the direction of the teacher, which, well, yeah, this is correct because due to this definition, but well, never mind, I just so my first point and my only point is that negative effects of the corporal punishment will bring is more than the benefits that it brings. So yeah, the purpose of corporal punishment is to being a discipline method in which supervising adults deliberately inflicts pain upon a child in response to a child's inappropriate behavior, which in another word, which the pain that the punishment brings to let them know that and remember what they did is wrong, so they won't do that again. But according to SOCOM.com, research has shown that corporal punishment in the classroom is not an effective practice, and it causes more harm than good. Research has also shown that more students with color and students with disability experience instances of corporal punishment more than their peers. What does this show? It tells us that corporal punishment has become an excuse of discrimination, an illegal way to apply illegal violence to the immatures. According to LifeScience.com and My House New Daily, there's a lot of people who are suffering. There's a lot of people who are suffering from mental disorder because of corporal punishment that they experience in their childhood. So, Mr. Adjudicator, think deeply. Would you let your child suffer from clinical depression or becoming an anti-society because of the unfair treatment that they had, like all the victims of corporal punishment around the world? If we can ban the corporal punishment globally, then the world will become a better place. And thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Alex, for that speech. You have 1 minute to prepare before I call the last speaker from the affirmative side. And time is up. Last speaker from the affirmative team.
Can you
Miranda,
hear
the floor
me?
is yours. Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you, Miranda. The floor is yours, and you have 4 minutes to speak, and your time starts now.
Mr. Adjudicator, imagine a pristine class filled with intelligent, well-behaved students. This is what corporal punishment can bring us. Good afternoon, Mr. Adjudicator, guest listening, opposition team, and my fellow teammate. I am the second and last speaker of Team Mass from MXIS. Now, I will first like to start with my rebuttals to the first speaker of the negative team. In his first part of the speech, he has actually agreed on our side and has stated that corporal punishment does help to teach kids better. It helps polish their manners better, and it makes their lessons stick with them. And the first speaker has also tried to say that punishments bring trauma at his second part of his speech. But let us just think about it for a second. Let us put aside all bias and think about it more. Did your parents ever punish you? Every child has experienced punishment from their parents, whether it was physical or mental. And teachers are like your second parents. Schools are like your second home. In school, you are to be educated to become brighter in life. Discipline is taught only with strict rules and punishments. If you do not try to control the kids, especially ones that are more immature or even bullies, it will only bring chaos and dismay in the classroom. And of course, as educators, nobody would want that. If you keep it simple and light for the students, they won't learn anything, simply that. Corporal punishment doesn't even have to be that abusive. It just has to be light punishment, enough to keep the students in their best behavior. And in this way, all classrooms can conduct peacefully and effectively. This is what educators should strive for: disciplined, well-mannered children. We, the affirmative team, have once again tried to reinforce that corporal punishment would only brighten the students, and we should always strive for the best. So, Mr. Adjudicator, please vote on our side because this motion should pass. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the last speaker from the affirmative team. You have 1 minute to prepare before I call the last speaker from the negative side.
Ah.
And time's up. Last speaker from the negative team.
Hi,
Last
sure.
speaker from. Hello, Maggie. So you have the floor is yours. You have 4 minutes to speak, and your time starts. Okay. So before we proceed with the speech of the last speaker. So again, if you have some feedback, some comments about the topic, you can message it in the group chat. Okay, so Minnie has a question here. Do you think that this motion should pass? Okay, so she's asking me if I wanted it to pass. So if you have any comments or feedback for the motion, you can freely message it in our group chat here. All right, so let's call the last speaker from the negative team. Maggie, the floor is yours. You have 4 minutes to speak, and your time starts now.
So, good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Adjudicator, ladies and gentlemen. I am Maggie Chen from the Manila Shanghai International School, and I am the last speaker from the negative team. The topic for our debate is that uh, corporal punishment should not be or be allowed in school. So, I believe that with the development of times, the methods of education and teaching must be improved, and they can't stay in the simple and direct way of violence. Although corporal punishment is not supported, how to define violence and corporal punishment is made by the law or from the top. But personally, I think students must be must be aware, since corporal punishment and disguised corporal punishment are not allowed, better methods are needed to implement them. Today's teachers focus on teaching results and not on the process of education cannot really develop. The main goal of punishment is to make the students realize their mistakes and correct them. Corporal punishment is not the purpose. Sometimes it can be correct and not be corrected, but also makes things more and more serious. However, in the teacher's point of view, they are good for us, for some teachers, especially in some public schools. But the way is not appropriate. Whether it is corporal punishment or violence, or cold violence, it should be reduced. Otherwise, the child will live in a shadow, will live in the shadow forever. Only the children will be will hurt. Also, the misuse of physical punishment has been associated with many negative social outcomes, including aggression, disruptive behavior in school, lack of acceptance by peers, crime and delinquency. Children's cognitive and intellectual development are also adversely affected by parental use of physical punishment. It is normal for children to make a mistake and gently hit them twice, but it must not scare them, not to destroy their sense of trust, their hearts because their hearts are very sensitive because of the inferiority of the things that happen and may be worried for the future of hidden trouble. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Maggie. Okay, before I move on to my feedback, okay, so Miranda here said, me speaking as if I'm not in the affirmative. Don't let this motion pass, please. And for Minnie, I think this motion should fail because if this pass, it is just a prison for children. Okay, so personally, I believe that corporal punishment should not be, okay, should not be done in the school because of the violence, okay? If, as anything, even if it's a small punishment, later on, you're giving students, you're giving kids idea about violence, and this should not be, or this should not how schools or classrooms should look like. Okay, so classrooms or schools, though we know, okay, outside the school, outside the classroom, it's not really 100% harmonious. Okay, but okay, as much as possible, we as educators, we as teachers, we as a school, we should be able to hone kids or hone students in a harmonious and peaceful way. So I personally, if you're gonna ask me, I'm not in favor of corporal punishment, but I was, okay, when I was still a kid, my parents, okay, just like what Miranda mentioned, everyone, I think most of the kids or most of the even teenagers, they went through this stage where they are being punished by their parents or maybe by their teachers as well, a little, with some form with some form of corporal punishment. But now let me move on to my feedback for the speakers. Okay, I will start with Sydney. With Sydney, I like the complexities of the terms that you use. Okay, especially the debate terms such as proposition, those terms instead of just saying affirmative and negative. It makes your speech more 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 professional, more debate like speech. Okay, and you discuss about discipline, and I think for all the listeners and all who are listening right now, that the way Sydney delivered her speech, that's or the content of her speech, that's the way you will be debating for the online challenge. Okay. Now remember, for the online challenge, it's not the usual debate that we are doing like this. It's not an online debate like this. You will be given 6 topics. Once you registered for the online challenge, you will be given 6 topics. You will just choose one that you will be that you will be discussing. You will be writing your speech, and then you will be recording for 90 seconds. Now, once you register, you will receive the topics right away. So you can think of your speech. You can write your speech right away, okay, and then just submit it during that day. Now, the what they will be looking at is how you deliver the speech, not just the content, but how you deliver the speech. That's why during our training, I asked you to open your videos or your camera so that I can see how you are delivering your speech. See, this is the reason why I asked you to open your video, your cameras as well, because for the online challenge, it will be a video submission, and you will be graded. Okay, you will be evaluated for your presentation and delivery with 25% of your final score. Okay, so you still need your eye contact, your facial expressions, your gestures. So it's not only the content of your speech, but also how you deliver your speech, and then your intonation as well. Okay, so you cannot just plainly discuss uh, your your idea or your thoughts, but you need to be persuasive. Now, for Sydney, again, the content was okay. Okay, it was actually excellent. Okay, it was a good opening, but I need you to be more a little more aggressive. Okay, not too aggressive, but just a little bit. Okay. Now for Alex, the start, it was a little shaky.